it's a time change.
It is?
Did you know that?
Our time didn't change.
Ours doesn't change, but some parts of the world does change.
Oh. Well, congratulations. Your time's changed. Today we're talking about, where was my notes for today?
Taking action.
Today we're talking about transform your life, unleashing the power of action. I think this is one of the most important things. It makes all the difference. You know, what you say you're going to do, what you think about doing, what you plan on doing, what you dream of doing. None of these things add up to anything unless you actually do something. And I don't know about you, but I've met a lot of people in life who talk about incredible things. They're going to finally take that trip. They're going to move somewhere exciting. They're going to start a family. They're going to start a business. They're going to, it's all the things they hope or wish or want or dream of doing in their life. And then you meet a whole different group of people, and it's the group of people who've actually done it. And there's a big difference. The biggest difference between those two groups of people are the group of people who've actually done it, took action. I'm sure they were also nervous. They were also scared. They were also uncertain. They were also probably freaked out in certain moments. They were also worried. They were also challenged. They were also all the same things. It's just one of them decided to take action and the other ones didn't. I think one of my favorite interviews we've ever done is we were doing a series of interviews with a friend of mine who's a movie maker. And if you want to watch it, it's really cool to see. It's on YouTube. But we were going out to interview people who've given up on their dream. Like, what's a dream you've given up on in life? And P.S., we're going to raffle off or give away another free 3-month access to our Core 4 challenge. And all you have to do to enter is write in the comment section, what is a dream you've given? And there's 2 questions. I'll give you the first one. The first one is, what is a dream you've given up on? And so my friend Johnny went out on the boardwalk, and we started to just stop random people in San Diego on the boardwalk on a Wednesday afternoon, just random people. And we kept stopping them and asking, can we interview you real quick? And they, oh, yeah, sure. What's the question? The question is, what's a dream you've given up on? And what blew us away is we stopped 20, probably 30, maybe 40 people. No one had an answer to this question. we were like, wait a minute, what's going on? This is weird. Like, everyone's like, I don't know. And then it clicked at one point. We're like, dude, if you're on the boardwalk in San Diego on a Wednesday in the afternoon, like middle of the day, you probably haven't given up on your dreams. All the people who stopped by literally looked at us like we were crazy. They're like, I'm living the dream. This was my dream. I'm here. This is it. I'm doing it. And we were confused for a minute. And I'm like, that is interesting. But, where do you grow up? Where are you from? What were the stories people used from where you come from about why they didn't go after their dream? I'm going to pass it over to my wife real quick. I know she's passionate about this subject.
I'm so passionate about this subject, I hardly know where to start with it. I loved that interview that we did, and it was so fun to be surrounded by people that actually went after their dreams and they were living it. So I will start there. How can you surround yourself with people who actually go after their dreams? And we have some wonderful people in our life. And when we talk to them, they are dreaming and dreaming and dreaming, but they're not really going after it. And as a coach, personally, I want so badly for every single person to win, whether you're a client of mine or a student of ours or in one of our programs, or just within our community of any sort, our family or anything. I want everyone to win. And so It's sometimes hard, I find, to not get emotionally involved in someone that's just doing a lot of talk and dreaming, but they're not actually walking or taking action in the directions of pursuing that dream. So, I'd love to actually hear what your thoughts are on that because I know I get like into it. Um, but I also have found I can't control what they're going to do. I can't control their destiny. I can't make them take action.
Yep.
But what I can do is I can be a source of inspiration of what is possible. So whether, I'm going after my dreams, not just because they're my dreams, but because also I am a mother, a sister, a leader. I am a coach. And I also want to show people what's possible when you do go after your dreams, right? So it's interesting because I do find a lot of fuel for going after the things I want in my life, not just because I want them, but because of the impact they're going to have on the lives in the world and maybe even the next generation after us, right? To remind them of what's possible, of what's capable of. Because, like what you've said before on other chats that we've had, is I love this so much. It was in a reel that we clipped from it, and it was, you have, they have eyes, I have eyes, they have a nose, I have a nose. We're both human. If they can do it, I can do it. And that's it. Sometimes we're so focused on the things that are different instead of all the things that are the same. And truly, if they can do it, so can I, right? And finding that inspiration and gosh, there's so much there, but yeah, what about you? What are your thoughts on it?
I think the starting point is courage. And here's a
Mm,
big question. Do you have the courage to go after the dream that you have? Do you have the courage? That's what it's going to take. It's going to take courage. Courage requires vulnerability. Vulnerability requires the ability to say, I want to experience that. I want to create that. I want to be part of that. I want to feel what that feels like. I want to, skydive. I want to build that business. I want to take that trip. I want to whatever it is. And the moment you have the courage to actually get clear on what you want and you have the vulnerability to knowing that it might not work out, knowing that it might not be in your cards, knowing that it might be harder than you think, knowing that you might totally stand up, strike out, and miss and have to do it
mhm,
again and again and again. Knowing those things, you have the then vulnerability because it's uncomfortable. You have to be vulnerable to say, but I want to try. I want to see if I can do it. I want to give it a go. I want to go take a swing at that. I want to see if I can make that happen. And then you'll usually hear a ton of reasons in your own head of why you're too old and it's too late and you don't know how to do that and someone's been doing it for too long and someone else has already figured it out and you'll have all these stories that come up. And then the question is, what helps you create the courage to go after it regardless of all those stories? Where do you find the courage? For most people, it's finding a reason bigger than themselves. Because we'll do a lot for ourselves. And I always say, for some people, they've spent their whole life taking care of others. It's finally time to do something for you. Great. Maybe that's it. For other people, they've worked really hard for themselves. They've done pretty good, but they've nowhere near scratched the surface of what's possible. And for them, it's saying, can you find something bigger than you to do it for? Can you
yeah.
find someone or something or some reason or some cause that's so exciting to you that you wake up and you couldn't stay asleep if you wanted to because you're so excited to go to work on it. You're so excited to make that impact. You're so excited to make that possible. And I'll tell you, that part becomes addicting in a great way.
Yeah.
Where I remember the first time we funded building a school
Mm,
in a rural part of the world, and I was like, "Ooh, that's a cool feeling. I want to go there and physically see it." I remember the first time we helped build a school in Guatemala, and then we helped repaint a house, and then we helped provide water for a school that didn't have access to clean water, and then like the list goes on and on and on, and it becomes emotionally addicting. Where it's like, "Wow, that wasn't hard at all." Like it seems like such a big thing to try to figure out how to help solve. And then once you do it, you're like, that wasn't that hard. How many more of these can I do? And
Yeah.
it becomes exciting. It becomes addicting to go find a way to make more of an impact. And the fun part is when you can find an impact big enough, if you can find a big enough problem to help solve in the world, you will be eternally inspired. You'll wake up every day and just find a way to make it happen. You'll have the courage. I remember one of my favorite little pieces of inspiration was I went to go run a marathon, and I was not a runner. I became one though, which is that identity transformation. But I wasn't when I started. I was not a runner. A friend from work invited me to go raise money for the Lymphoma and Leukemia Society by running a marathon. The group's called Team in Training. And so you meet every week and you have this whole group you run with and you raise money to help people fighting cancer. And I remember I went to this track one day and I was not feeling the peppiest, let's say. And as we started running our laps, this little boy who had to be like 5 or 6 years old walked up to the side of the track with his mom holding her hand, and he had this big basket full of buttons. And as we ran by, he reached up and held a little button out and said, "Thank you for helping save my life."
Mm.
And on the button was a little picture of him, and it said his name, his date, and how many months he's been going through chemo to try to fight off his cancer. And he's a little bald guy, he had his head shaved. And him looking up and saying, "Thank you for saving my life," was all the inspiration I needed to hear to figure out how to keep running when I didn't feel like running. And so when we talk about taking action, there's the initial action. So how do you get enough excitement, enough passion, enough courage to just say it, to do it, to go? But then how do you sustain it? And I think how you sustain it is finding people like that little guy who reached out and said, "Hey, thanks for saving my life. It's a reason beyond myself to keep running." And in that moment, I was like, yeah, my legs are tired, but sure, I could run 5 more laps. Like, no big deal. I mean, if that guy can go through that at 5 or 6 years old, I can move my butt around the track 5 more times. That's not hard. And it's that concept of a reason beyond yourself. And then the next hardest part as far as taking action is usually the final 5 steps. But it's also exciting. If you've ever been to a race, a marathon, or any of these, 5K, 10K, whatever, half marathon, usually the last 100 yards to the finish line is exciting. Endorphins kick in. People are excited. They pick up their speed. The music's pumping. They're energized. They come through. Their, friends are celebrating them. Their hands go up in the air. Now they claps on the other side normally out of like, oh my God, I made it. But that last 100 yards is really fired up, really exciting. And so, I want to throw out this to everyone who's watching, everyone watching live. Here's my question. What have you been delaying? What have you been procrastinating on? What have you been pushing aside? What have you been delaying on? What have you been, truthfully, probably avoiding? But deep down inside, there's a part of you that really wants to do it. There's a part of you that really wants to make it happen. And what would happen if today you drew a line in the sand and you decided to just go for it? What would have to happen? What would the first step look like? If you were going to do that, what would have to happen for you to just take the first step today? Just get one step in the right direction. I'll tell you, it has the potential to change your entire life. I've helped so many people do this. And what's funny, it doesn't matter if they're just getting started or if they've been wildly successful. All of them have the same hesitation when it's time to take the first step in the new thing. And what's fun is when we can help them take that first step, it opens up an entire new universe of possibility. And again, it doesn't matter how much they've already achieved. If anything, the people who have achieved a lot, they're the ones who hesitate most because they're quote unquote so successful in what they're doing. They don't want to look like an amateur. They don't want to be the new person. They don't want to fall over and trip in front of everybody because They're the successful one. They don't want to let everyone know that they don't know what they're doing in this new venture. But the ones who have the guts to take that step, even when it is risky, especially when it's risky and requires courage and vulnerability, it's amazing what happens once they have the courage to take that step. Whole new universe opens. You see things that they used to dream about become reality. You see things that were, goals and long-term visions and big exciting moments in their life all of a sudden become real. And the most common thing you'll hear them say on the other side is, I wish I would have known I could have done this earlier. That's it. That is the most consistent thing you hear. I wish I would have had the guts to do this sooner. I didn't even know it wasn't as hard as I imagined. I wish I would have tried this 10 years ago. I wish I would have known about this earlier. It's the most consistent statement you'll hear from people. So watch this. If you're looking for courage, think of something in your life now that you just consider normal. But at one point in your life was a dream, a desire, a vision, a goal, something you were like, wow, if that could happen, oh my God, that would be amazing. Like that would change my life. That would be the coolest thing ever. But now it's like, oh yeah, just part of our life. Of course we have that. Of course we've done that. Of course that's real. Think of something and ask yourself, what finally gave you the courage to try? What finally gave you the courage to see if you could do it, to take the first step? What finally gave you that courage for something that now is just normal in your life, but at one time was just a dream? Whatever that is, ask yourself, what could be the inspiration to give you the courage this time? What could inspire you to finally take that step now, today? Whatever it is, write it down. And then ask yourself on a 0 to 10 scale, 0 being not at all, 10 being 100%, nothing could stop me. 0 to 10, how much inspiration do I feel when I think about that? Let's say it's a 5. We'd say, okay, good. What would have to happen? What would you have to think about to increase that level of inspiration from a 5 to a 7? Would you have to think about how it'll not only help them, but ripple into the future? Would you have to think about how not only how proud they'd be, but how inspired they'd be by you? What else would you have to think about to take the level of inspiration of that thought from a 5 to a 7? Once you have that, ask yourself again, what would have to happen for that level of inspiration around this thought to go from a 7 to a 9? And now 7 is the threshold for action. So at a 7, you'll be ready to go, ready to do something. At a 9, it'd be hard to stop you. Like someone couldn't talk you out of it at a 9. I mean, you are stubborn to the point that you will make this happen regardless of what gets in your way once you get up to a 9. So what would have to happen to take that level of inspiration around this thought from a 7 to a 9? What would you have to add to it, subtract from it, adjust about it? That would go from a 7 to a 9. And finally, there's room for one more. What would have to happen to take that level of inspiration from a 9 all the way to a 10? A 10 is, I could show up with the, NFL lineman at your door and say, you're not allowed to do this. And you'd be like, move, or I'll make you. Like you will blow through any obstacle or barrier. You will find a way, make a way, design a way, create a way. You'll do whatever it takes to make it happen at a 10. What would have to happen to get that level of inspiration from a 9 to a 10? Final question. What has to happen to maintain that level of inspiration at a 10 over the next 6 months, 12 months, 5 years, 10 years? What would you have to do every day to sustain that level 10? Because it's one thing to like experience what that level 10 feels like. It's another thing to sustain it. Who would you need in your life to help hold you accountable? What structures or frameworks would you need to put around you to keep you consistent? What would you need to be learning about every day? Reading. Who would you need to surround yourself with to stay inspired? If you think through this, you'll come up with an action plan. If you want help looking through your action plan and making sure it's really set up right, just send us a direct message and send us what your plan is, and we'll take a peek at it for you. But what has to happen for you to make that real? Okay, I think my wife needs to jump. Thank you for tuning in. If you found this useful, please click the share button and share it with other people. We think sharing is caring, and we love caring people around here. Also, if you found inspiration, insight, energy from what I just shared with you, I was using a coaching framework. We teach coaching frameworks in our program certification, Performance Coach University. We're the #1 performance coach certification on earth. We're ICF and BCC accredited. It's really, really, really an incredible course. We've been doing it for 8 years. We've had people from almost 10. Really?
Yes.
Wow. Almost 10 years. We have people from major consulting firms, McKinsey, Deloitte. We've had companies reach out like United and Johnson & Johnson. We've had people from special warfare. I've been able to coach Navy SEALs, Fortune 500 executives. These tools, these frameworks, we've packaged it up. It's a self-paced course. It has tons of support, absolutely incredible learning environment. And if you like learning tools like that you can first use on yourself and then guide other people through, I always think there's 2 use cases. One, people who want to actually transfer over and become a coach as a career path. We'll show you how to do that. And we have a special offer for people like that running right now. 2, people who have a company, a team, a business, an organization that you're in charge of, and you would like to see their results 2x, 5x, 10x, meaning you want to drive your team to a whole nother level of success. Having these types of frameworks and tools will transform you from trying to manage your team to actually being able to coach your team to absolute peak performance. So if you're in either one of those categories, you're interested in coming and learning these tools, all you got to do is send me a direct message that says, I want to become a coach, and we'll send you all the details. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to share this, and I'll see y'all later.